Should you get a personal router for your dorm room? We'll tell you how they can affect the campus Wi-Fi.
We have the results of this year's MUSG presidential election.
This is what democracy looks like!
Students are marching for their lives. Here's what happened in Milwaukee on Saturday.
And the nursing program is experiencing a shortage. Find out how that will affect Marquette students. All that and more tonight on Marquette Now. Good evening, I'm Chris Reisner.
And I'm Agnes Conley. Marquette Student Government has a new president and executive vice president for the upcoming school year. Meredith Gillespie is the new president and Valerie Del Campo executive vice president.
Voting ended last night at 10 p.m. The other candidates were Aaron Murphy and Joshua Seinfeld-Sines.
Advocating for stricter gun laws is still happening across the nation. This past weekend, the movement made its way to Milwaukee in the event March for Our Lives. Larson Seaver has the story.
This is what democracy looks like!
Washington, D.C. is not the only city in the U.S. advocating for change today. At the Milwaukee County Courthouse, thousands of teachers, students, and parents are making their voices heard all day to end gun violence in schools.
This is not a Second Amendment issue. This is an issue about common sense and protecting our students.
And while students generally feel safe on the Marquette campus,
I feel fairly safe on Marquette's campus.
All recognize a problem in high schools.
In high schools, it's a different situation, and I'm here to represent those students.
We need solutions that doesn't just prevent it when it's happening, but prevent it long term, so teachers and students and anyone walking into a school understand that it's a place for learning and to feel safe.
Follow behind, as the students are the leaders and voices of this movement.
Milwaukee's march is more unique from the rest. 4 students, 2 in high school and 2 from Marquette, were part of the core group that organized the event.
So after today, I hope that we see more change in policies, specifically with midterms in November, and I also hope to see more rallies and more meetings held discussing how we can solve gun violence within our communities. For the most part, I do feel pretty safe, but it is alarming every so often when we get MUPD updates saying there are shots fired. I think that's not necessarily a Marquette-related issue, but it is a Milwaukee issue, and Marquette is a part of Milwaukee, so it is something that Marquette can be taking a stance on and actually preventing.
So what's next? The organizers hope to use the donations to help citizens register to vote and put pressure on politicians to make new legislation. For Marquette Wire News, I'm Larson Seaver.
And Madison's 5-day March for Life ended today. Participants marched 50 miles to the home of Speaker of the House Paul Ryan in Janesville.
MUPD led Naval ROTC members in an active shooter training session. Rosie Rains, a senior in the College of Arts and Sciences and operations officer for Naval ROTC, said they regularly participate in active shooter training, and they learn to respond to an active shooter by running, hiding, or fighting.
The University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee officers are also training for what to do in the case of an active shooter. The officers are already trained in advanced law enforcement and rapid response training. The main response of UWM officers is to get in, stop the threat, and save lives. UWM officers say the response time is less than a minute to an on-campus threat.
A hearing for the McAdams versus Marquette Wisconsin Supreme Court case is scheduled for April 19th. In response, Marquette has released a website of resources for the case. The website will provide information on the case and Marquette's position regarding the details.
Marquette's Wi-Fi is currently an issue, but the solution is in the residence halls. Marquette Now's John Steppe has the story.
Slow Wi-Fi forces some students to get creative.
I have that personal hotspot that I use.
Oh, well, I use the Ethernet splitter because we can't run our Xboxes through the Wi-Fi, so.
According to Mary Simmons, those routers are making the problem worse.
And so if you ever open your phone or your iPad and you go to look at wireless networks, when you see a whole slew of them, you're going to have a really poor connection no matter what you connect to, because everybody's vying for the same airspace.
Her staff is allowed to shut down routers in residence halls. But there's one problem. She has 3 employees in charge of the entire network.
So I can't have them poking around one by one.
The solution starts with students.
If they're putting a personal router in their room because they have poor wireless access on the Marquette network, all they need to do is tell us, because we will fix it for them. We can easily fix it for them.
But students aren't getting the message.
I appreciated Marquette trying to improve it, but I feel like you're gonna have to do more than just put up a flyer.
And in Carpenter Tower, Mecki will be needing that hotspot a bit more.
Thank God convince them to get unlimited data, but...
Reporting from Milwaukee, I'm John Steppe, Marquette Wire News.
Simmons says it typically takes her staff 1 to 2 days to fix a Wi-Fi issue in a dorm.
Marquette plans to break ground this spring on an $18.5 million physician's assistant building. This 44,000 square foot building plans to open in the fall of 2019. With the creation of this building, it will increase the amount of students in the program from 90 to 225.
While the PA school is expanding their program, the nursing college is taking a different strategy to combat the nursing shortage. Sophie Bollock has the story.
The Wisconsin Center for Nursing reports a projected nursing shortage by 2020, but it's not college students' fault. It's about a different generation.
The baby boomer population is very large, and all of them are becoming old, and as we age, your risk for chronic illnesses increases, and many of these baby boomers have not only one chronic illness, but maybe 2 or 3. That requires a lot of resources from the hospital, not even just nurses, but also medications, pharmacists, doctors, just a lot of resources that we can't always meet, unfortunately.
It's not as much just a shortage of nurses, it's just more people to take care of,
Sandy Vandenheuvel, the interim assistant dean of undergraduate programs for Marquette Nursing, said Marquette's program is actually quite large. In fact, students are actually having trouble finding spots for clinical in Milwaukee's 3 large hospitals.
Right now we just have clinical once a week for the semester, so that's only 16 times on a unit, 8 hours each time, whereas other schools that are much smaller have sometimes 8 weeks of 40 hours a week on a clinical, on a unit, which makes a big difference. I guess I get a little bit confused when schools say no to accepting people into their program. At first, I didn't get it because there's a nursing shortage. They should be accepting anyone they can get. But at the same time, you want people who are going to be well qualified.
I'm Sophie Bullock, Marquette Wire News.
In 2016, medical facilities nationwide employed nearly 3 million nurses.
Some Marquette graduate programs increased their rankings on the list of the best graduate programs in the U.S. The College of Education made the most significant jump. They were ranked 101st last year and are 75th this year. The Graduate School of Management, the College of Engineering, and the Law School also moved up on the list of rankings. However, the nursing program dropped from number 63 to 82. Now, Agnes, the weather was pretty nice today.
Yeah, I've got to say it's pretty nice. Hopefully it stays nice for those who are staying in Milwaukee during Easter break.
Yeah, let's send it over to Amani Lee and see about the weather.
Good. Thank you so much, Agnes and Chris. March 20th was the official start of spring, and Wisconsin has finally gotten with the program with a bit of warmth and sunshine. As for tonight, we have a high of 34 degrees with winds coming from the southeast going at 11 miles per hour. If you are staying in Milwaukee for this Easter break, be sure to take advantage of heading downtown, maybe even to the 3rd Ward or by the lake. Tomorrow, we have a high of 44 degrees, winds coming from the northeast, and it's coming around 13 miles per hour. As for Thursday and Friday, it will be cloudy, but that will be your best bet if you want to take advantage of going outside, hanging out with some friends. 44 degrees Thursday, 49 degrees Friday. And as for Saturday, it will be rainy. However, it will be warm with temperatures hitting around 48 degrees. And as for Sunday and Monday, Sunday will be the coldest this week as temperatures are headed at 38 degrees and it will be cloudy. Monday, we do not have classes, so that may be your best opportunity to either head to Rainer or just stay indoors getting some homework done, as temperatures will be at 44 degrees and it will be rainy. So have a blessed Easter break, and back to you guys.
Thanks, Amani. When we return, we'll take a look at the creation of Marquette's Midnight Run.
And we have a full recap of the grand opening of the new Innovation Kitchen. Stay right here on Marquette Now.
You may be familiar with the ongoing movements for safer gun laws. However, you may not know that Marquette has a student movement of their own.
This one fights to end homelessness, hunger, and child poverty in Milwaukee. Max Navarra reports.
We really see ourselves as a movement of compassion. We really want to reach out to people and build relationships and lift them up.
Midnight Run is more than just a service organization. It is a movement.
Midnight Run is actually a student-led organization that serves the needs of hungry and homeless. It's been going on for almost 30 years. It'll be 30 years old in October of this year.
Midnight Run is actually the largest student service organization here at Marquette. We work with over 300 different students that are interested in connecting to the Milwaukee community and learning about the realities of injustice here in our city. And our main focus is walking with and advocating for people experiencing hunger and homelessness.
The faith-based movement began after 2 Marquette students attended the national campaign against hunger and homelessness in 1988.
1988 was one of those periods. During that period, homelessness was becoming more prevalent, more observable.
The students modeled Midnight Run after a group of students in New York City that used public transport and vans to distribute food to those in need.
They thought that they would go around with a van and drive around in the evening looking for people to serve with sandwiches, blankets, things like that. And they did that for a little while.
Their late nights back in '88 gave birth to the name Midnight Run, but now it is so much more.
We also want to come from beyond the counter and sit down and talk to people who are there. I mean, just to get to know them, to break the stereotype of what a homeless person would be, and to recognize them as people and treat them as such.
From the AMU, I'm Max Navarra, Marquette Wire News.
Midnight Run operates 6 days a week out of their 14 sites across Milwaukee.
Marquette's Office of International Education is showing support of the hashtag You Are Welcome Here campaign. The office is creating a video for international students at Marquette. The video shows international students that Marquette stands in solidarity with them. Marquette wants international students to know it's a safe and welcoming environment for everyone.
The Innovation Kitchen, a new place for students to try new foods and learn how to cook them at home, is now open. Elise McFagan reports at the grand opening.
You may think you're at a five-star restaurant.
It should give a little bit of a refreshing flavor. And that's exactly what you're looking for.
But you're really at the Alumni Memorial Union, inside the new Innovation Kitchen.
Well, you can eat here every day, like it used to be with Lunda. We have a brunch and a great menu here. But we do offer classes here. Every month there's a little different theme. Sometimes we ask students to give ideas of kind of what they want to learn, and then we go from that.
At the grand opening,
I'm enjoying it a lot.
Students and faculty try samples and participate in demonstrations.
To get rid of the harsh membrane in between each, as we cut in between each one, it's a little labor intensive, but this is what we call a supreme or a segment. Okay?
Part of the African Student Association discusses her experience with the Innovation Kitchen.
So we did an event with them like last month, I think it was, for Black History Month, where we just they made like African food, and then we had students come in and like try the food and learn how to make it with the Innovation Kitchen.
Innovation Kitchen is now booking for April demonstrations.
We've learned a lot along the way. We've perfected it for the most part here, especially on campus in our kitchen. We're able to do these demos and bring them to the Marquette campus community.
I'm Elise McFagan, Marquette Wire News.
If you want to sign your group up for a demonstration or enroll in a class, visit marquette/sodexoway.com.
Marquette women's soccer player Riley Bugay is going to the Philippines for the World Cup qualifiers after school ends. Bugay was invited to the national team's initial identification camp in California after starting all 21 matches for Marquette. She also led the team in playing time with more than 1,800 minutes.
March Madness is in full swing as the Final Four matchups are set for this upcoming weekend. One of the things that made this year's tournament so special is the upsets. As Marquette Now's Justin Palmer reports, many students are in on the madness.
With March Madness in full swing, some students couldn't contain their excitement.
Yeah, we're gonna beat them.
However, there are some downsides to this march, as sophomore Marquette student Jack Lauder points out.
I'm a big Marquette basketball fan, and I really wanted them to be in the tournament, but they didn't earn it.
Despite this downside, Jack is still embracing the Cinderella team, the Loyola Chicago Ramblers.
My girlfriend's little brother is a big Loyola fan, so kind of hopped on his train. And also, it's cool to see the underdog pull the upset, and especially Loyola, because they had to go through a lot of work just to get into the tourney.
Junior Nick Balsanti shared his opinion on the art of the upset before Thursday's Loyola victory.
Being a Chicago Cubs fan for so many years, I understand what it's like to watch the underdogs be so beat down until they eventually get that big W.
The Ramblers, as expected, have taken over the Chicago area. Chicago native Tommy Laka explains how his opinion on the school has changed.
I actually didn't like Loyola before they started making this run because I'm from Chicago and I know a lot of kids who go there and I'm not a fan. Much easier to root for an underdog than a favorite. When you have no interest, if you have no stake in the game, if it's not one of your favorite teams, you might as well root for the underdog.
Of course, Laka couldn't leave Sister Jean out of the conversation.
Some of the people I know at Loyola actually told me about her before, and when people see her on campus, they just go wild at the sight of this old nun, so it's kind of hilarious.
Loyola certainly hasn't been hilarious to watch this tournament. From the Annex, I'm Justin Palmer, Marquette Wire News.
Loyola resumes play this Saturday at 5:09 as they take on Michigan in the Final Four.
After the break, Mallory Winkler has your Marquette Sports Report.
Plus, an all-new Down to the Wire with Grace Terry.
Marquette Athletics announced that sophomore Harry Froling will leave the Marquette men's basketball team. Head coach Steve Wojciechowski said, we fully support Harry and want to thank him for his contributions to our program. We wish him the best of luck as he explores the next steps in his career. The 6'11" center from Townsville, Australia, transferred to Marquette from SMU during the second half of the 2016-2017 season. This season, he appeared in 20 games, 3 starting, and averaged 2.8 points and 3 rebounds in 12 minutes of action. Sophomore forward Sam Hauser announced he will have hip surgery and will need a 5 to 6 month recovery period. As the season went on, it kind of kept getting a little worse here and there, Hauser said. I was just trying to maintain it the whole year. We were all kind of surprised we made it all year to this game. Hauser, who averaged 14 points, 5.7 rebounds, and shot 50% from 3, has been dealing with a hip injury since August, but passed up having surgery before the season and decided to battle through it instead. Hauser is fully expected to make a healthy recovery and ready for the next season. The Marquette men's soccer team got their preseason underway against some familiar opponents, a group of men's soccer alumni. Our very own Andrew Goldstein has the story.
It was the first game of preseason for Marquette's men's soccer team. Their opponent, Marquette's former men's soccer team.
Being in the area, we're able to come back every year and get a good game in, get a good session.
They play right near where they used to play in the Valley Fields Dome. And although it's just an exhibition game, you wouldn't know it from the intensity level. Head coach Louis Bennett has hosted the event ever since taking over the program as a way to test next season's team.
These guys know what we're trying to do, so they might not be quite as fit, or they might not be quite as game ready to play at this speed, but they're smarter and they're more knowledgeable, and I think it tests us.
The alumni were impressed with what Bennett's current team showed them on the field.
They pass and move, they find themselves in those spaces, which is good. And against the teams that you have in the Big East, you're definitely going to need people that can keep possession of the ball, especially when you have pressure on your back.
Today, the young guys emerged with a 7-0 victory and a lot of lessons from the older players.
They're more experienced, so they know all the little tricks of the game, I guess, like how to get you off your game, and putting yourself up against them is always a good test.
In the end, it's just making sure that they've got Marquette's best interests and faith that by having Marquette's best interests, that they will also get their fulfillment and their joy out of it.
If joy is the objective, the 2018 men's soccer team is off to a good start, thanks to those that came before them. From Valley Fields, Andrew Goldstein, Marquette Wire Sports.
And that is your Marquette Sports Update. Down to the Wire is after the break.
Hi, welcome back to Marquette Now. This is Down to the Wire, and I'm Grace Terry. Tonight, I'm joined with Josh Anderson to talk about his recent stories involving diversity on campus. Thanks for joining me, Josh.
Absolutely, thanks for having me.
All right, you've been working on several diversity stories for the Marquette Wire. What got you interested with it?
So I started out writing a little bit about the Center for Intercultural Engagement hired a staff person to work specifically with African American students. And from there, I learned about another opportunity that was happening that I wrote on, and then from there, it just kind of one story came after the next.
Very cool. And why is it important for Marquette Wire to continue this dialogue?
Well, there's a lot happening in diversity at Marquette. In the Center for Intercultural Engagement alone has hired 2 people in the past 6 months working specifically with minority students. And so there's a lot happening in that area, and so it's really important that the Marquette Wire continue to cover the news as it happens.
In one of the stories that you wrote about, Alice Wei, an admissions employee, wanted to recruit more students from China. Wei mentioned that she was drawn to Marquette for her BMA because of the Jesuit values. How does seeking students from across the world further Marquette's Jesuit values?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can't speak on Alice's behalf, obviously, but she said that for her, she really liked Marquette because it gave her an opportunity to explore her Christian faith in a way that she just couldn't in China. And so I think that's something that's really important for Marquette to continue to do, is give students an opportunity to explore their faith in ways that they sometimes can't in their home countries.
Mm-hmm. And Wei also mentioned getting name recognition for Marquette University within China. What steps is Marquette taking to further that?
So in China, they don't have high school guidance counselors that are working with students for the admissions process. They have what are called agents. And so Alice said that she was working specifically with those agents so that they're aware of Marquette, and then they can share with the students that they're working with about Marquette. She's also going to a lot of college conferences and sharing directly with students about it.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Josh, and keep an eye out for his stories in the Marquette Wire, or Marquette Tribune. And over to Chris and Agnes.
Thanks, Grace. Thank you for watching Marquette Now. For more campus stories, visit marquettewire.org. I'm Agnes Conley.
And I'm Chris Reisner. Enjoy your Easter break.